Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 8 today for the British Grand Prix in Season 1. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Austrian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check the one out before you see this one uploaded yesterday, and that was a action-packed race, probably the craziest race we've had so far in terms of the amount of different things that occurred in that one. It was quite a hard one to really think about what the title would exactly be, because yeah, it was a madness. That was a sort of crazy race that I was used to in later seasons on last year's game, not like episode 7 of the very first season of this game. So yeah, awesome stuff there, and hopefully we can have more, absolute chaotic ones like that, because chaos is what we need really. When we've got a slower car where it's not exactly where we want it to be, in the midfield fight, let alone the kind of top fight basically, because we're still lagging behind, not quite on the true pace of even, AlphaTauri and Alpine at every single circuit. There's going to be others where I'm stronger at personally, but we need chaos, because that's where we can maybe make a clever call on strategy or whatnot, capitalize on free positions to gain some points, just like we did at Austria, thankfully. Some very nice wall of points. And now going into this one, looking at upgrades, we've got 1.5 thousand K R&D points to spend. We're going to go ahead and get another minor drag reduction upgrade. That will come in after this next Grand Prix, unfortunately. So next time out before Hungary, we'll see that drag reduction come in, but constantly trying to reduce the drag of this car, trying to make it lightweight, because we know the FOM My Team car is a very heavy and draggy car, so trying to reduce that as much as we can. And then also with a massive discount on the weight redistribution, I thought we may as well purchase that as well. I haven't done one of those upgrades yet, so I thought with a 40% discount, why not? Obviously we could have waited a little bit longer, but if you just wait for discounts, you're just going to be waiting forever, so you may as well buy the upgrades. And actually, as I always say, don't be scared to spend R&D and money early doors, even if you go lower, on certain things. Well, we've now got a chassis HQ facility event, and it's all about kind of an offering for the company, for our engineers. Essentially, it's spending some cash and getting some extra resource points, training the engineers with this online package. We accepted that deal because 50k is really not that much versus, the million, we're talking about 1.32 million. 50k off that, not going to be a massive difference, and we gain a whopping 750 on the R&D, which is actually massive. So I think that's a no-brainer, to be honest, in terms of accepting that deal. In hindsight, it wouldn't matter too much, because actually we've reached a bit of a bottleneck, because I've already got so many upgrades pending that are taking a while to come in that I can't actually spend any more of my R&D until they come in. We've got the cable assembly, which is to do with the weight reduction again. I believe that's come through, but I'm going to hold off on buying anything else on the chassis side of things, because we've got that redistribution upgrade pending. I think technically I could still buy one more upgrade on simultaneous upgrades, because we've got that a higher level on the fabrication on the chassis HQ, but I just want to hold station here, because I want to maybe try and get a major upgrade, maybe on the aero side, even the engine possibly, once we've got that ignition system come in. We're going to go through quick practice and also see, to be fair, also what are the boosters we could get, because you never know, we might get some, R&D off some of these upgrades, and then, we may as well then spend the R&D in the middle of the weekend. And to be fair, that's one thing I've been thinking. I think it's definitely a tip for sure, that if you're wanting to spend R&D, I would actually wait until you've done the practice program of each race weekend, because then you have those extra discounts that have come in, and it could be on a really crucial one that you definitely wanted to purchase. So definitely take the time to do the quick practice, or do practice, get the boosters, then think about maybe what you're purchasing sometimes, because it could be very, very useful. But we do quick practice as per usual. We know the wear is there, but we just kind of get through it, because we need as much R&D as we can. And to be fair, actually more so than R&D, we need some more acclaim, because we're nearly at acclaim level 10, and it's actually really annoying that we didn't get it just before this race weekend to maybe earn a sponsor goal, because at the moment we've got our title sponsor Echo, we've got that first sponsor we got for acclaim level 5. It would have been lovely to get that second slot for acclaim level 10 just before this Grand Prix to earn some more cash, because that is where the bottleneck is at the moment. As I think I mentioned last episode, that we just need more money basically to spend on the HQ. But it's tough out here. It's tough out here with the kind of settings we have, and where we are basically just as a team really, because we're not getting that much acclaim every race, because well and truly I'm the only one doing somewhat well. We know none of the F2 drivers that you choose at the very start of the game do very well for you unless you've got personal upgrades, which we don't have. but you need to spend money to get personal upgrades. So it's a kind of, you know, catch-21. You need money for everything, as is the case in real-life Formula 1. So, you know, if anything, the game is very accurate in that kind of sense of us being very cash-strapped as a small team. But we move in then into Q1 of the British Grand Prix, the home race. Unfortunately, no special one-off livery for the first home race ever on this game like I did on F1 2020, because they don't have any kind of special Union Jack livery. I was actually really annoyed. They've got a really poor selection of first starting liveries, to be honest. You know, I've put a lot of praise on Cody's for this year's game with certain things they've changed, improvements, new features, you know, braking points been really good. But once again, the livery selection, at least this initial selection, is really it's just not that interesting. There's only a handful that I actually would use myself, basically, and yeah, it was kind of annoying not to even have a special little one for the home GP like they had on last year's game. But I guess it is what it is. They want to bring, you know, the same ones over from last year, but I wouldn't have minded that one. But anyway, that's another rant for maybe another day. But we move into Q1. We've done one lap. You may have seen that one on the second flyer. This one going much better. Nearly 3/10 gained alone as we went through Village. A lot smoother through Max and Beckett's, losing a bit of time, to be honest, on the exit there of the entire section, but then gaining some back as we go through the final corners. A little bit less of a lock-up in the last chicane. That was across the line, nearly 5/10 gained, and that gets us up into P16. I was surprised by that. I was kind of very worried we're going to be knocked out and have a dismal qualifying, but we're through into Q2. So that makes a change from last year's game, because if you remember, on last year's game, my game actually crashed at this very round, and then throughout the entirety of F1 2020, this never used to be a happy hunting ground. It was very much Jensen Button vibes at Silverstone, i.e. my home race was my bogey track, and I only ever won it once on F1 2020. That was in Season 7 of the career mode, whereas in this year's game, well, we started off quite well. We've got through into the second part of qualifying, which I was very worried about not doing, because our car has been on the back foot a little bit, but you know, P19, not too bad. I thought it was going to be on the last road, to be fair, and we've done a much better job of bouncing back from the dismal qualifying at Austria, but you can clearly see we and the rest of the other teams around us are way off the pace. You know, 4 seconds off the fastest time in Q1 is ridiculous, but we only just narrowly make it through. And there's, well, as is the British Grand Prix, Silverstone, there is rain here, unlike in real life. Maybe all the rain from real life came into the game here, because we've got rain here in Q2. So as much as I'd like to think, oh, maybe the rain is an equalizer, maybe we could try and have a very good qualifying then maybe. The fact that we're 4 seconds off the pace from the fastest man, and, you know, a good 8/10 off the next car along in the midfield battle, basically meant that I very much accepted I could do nothing special here in the rain to try and gain position. So we've qualified P16 effectively. You know, we got through into Q2 in P16, and we'll finish up in P16 in Q2. It is what it is. It's where we are. It's where the car is. But tomorrow is a different day, race day. Let's hope for some more chaos. Let's hope for some rub of the green for our home GP and see what we can do.
We return once again then to the home of British motorsport and the birthplace of the Formula 1 World Championship. It's race day here at Silverstone, and it's time for the British Grand Prix. The 3.6-mile long Silverstone circuit is one of the longest of the season, with 18 corners in the current layout. With average lap speeds reaching around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the quickest tracks of the year. Watch out for cars taking the right-handers of Abbey and Copse flat out. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the rundown into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Norris, Max Verstappen and Ricciardo, Perez, Sainz, Vettel and Pierre Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Esteban Ocon and Tsunoda. Raikkonen, the owner-driver. Mick Schumacher and Antonio Giovinazzi. Ireland, Mazepin, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Well, here we go then. There is absolutely always a buzz when you come to your home Grand Prix. It's going to be a pretty bog standard one-stop though for everyone. Looks like everyone's going to start on softs, and it's either soft to medium or soft to hard. So that's a little bit annoying, but there is rain. There is rain at the end, so that could be the spanner of the works that we need, or maybe don't, because, I don't know, the car didn't perform too well on the wet in Q2, or I very much accepted P16, so I don't know how this is going to go. I'm still not sure if this is going to be a great home Grand Prix for us or not, but we got to find out. It's the first one on this game, so let's just go out there and give it our all. It's our very first home Grand Prix on this game and career mode as we go to 5 red lights for the British Grand Prix. The lights are out and we are underway, and it's a good initial start versus Raikkonen. Really great one from Tsunoda up front. It's maybe nearly 3-1 into turn 1 between Ocon, him and Stroll as we go now towards Village. Raikkonen on our left-hand side, but there's a pocket of space opening up. We dive bomb down the inside of the Alpine and AlphaTauri, once again battling these two teams, and it's 3 abreast. We go wide. We got tapped by Tsunoda. Bit of contact, yellow flags. Don't know what's going on my inside. There's 2 cars on my inside. We lift off, go a little bit wide on the runoff to give people room, but then Ocon shoots through on the left. We've got, I think, Tsunoda on the right or on the left, and Raikkonen. Oh my god, we nearly had an absolute disaster. We backed out that one. I don't know how there was space for Tsunoda to be on the left there. It was 4 abreast going into Brooklands. We backed out that, rightly so, because I think we would have had a catastrophic accident and got pinched in on the middle there, because Raikkonen was well and truly just coming towards Ocon like I wasn't even there then, so we kind of backed out that. And so the AI being very aggressive indeed, and we've been caught out a bit because we're down to P16 now, so that kind of hard work diving down the inside of Village undone, and from here on out it may be quite difficult because you saw the pace difference in Q1. I was 8 tenths behind the next car, 4 seconds off the top guy in Q1. Silverstone was always a difficult circuit on F1 2020, and it looks to be an even more difficult one on F1 2021, but the car itself also just not suiting the circuit. You need a lot of downforce, which we don't have a lot of. We focused on drag reduction and everything like that, and it's paid dividends in other circuits, but like a thoroughbred circuit like this, you just need that downforce. You need a good car that works pretty much everywhere, not just the straights, not just in acceleration zones, and so it's going to be a long afternoon for us maybe. We are keeping within 1 second of Tsunoda, so at least that's one good thing, but we're not really gaining too much. The gap stayed at 7 tenths, and there's yellow flags behind, and looking at the mini-map, the Alfa Romeo has had an incident. He's collected Ilott, I think, because Ilott's also stopped on the mini-map, and then Ilott's out. Our teammate is out to his home race and debut at Silverstone Formula 1, as well as Giovinazzi, and the full course safety car is out, and we are going to use this safety car to come in and try a gamble. We're going to roll the dice. We know the rain is coming later. Let's roll the dice. Why not? Get a free pit stop, go on to mediums. The tyre wear may be quite high because we're pitting on lap 4 rather than lap 8 or 9. So we may face a lot of high tyre wear at the end of this stint, but by then I've got to hope the rain is falling by then, because that's my hope effectively. We're doing a free pit stop here in the dries. Now usually without any rain at the end of the race, this would be too early to make a free pit stop, because unless you went on hards maybe and longed it out, but I didn't really want to take the hard compounded tyre. I felt like that was going to be a disaster for our car because I already don't have that much great pace. Add on the hardest compounded tyre, not going to work out. So instead, mediums, free pit stop, and we've now got to look up in the cockpit to the sky and hope the rain comes sooner rather than later, but not too soon. It needs to come after the first round of pit stops for everyone else, because here we are then on the restart, weaving about, trying to find some heat into my tyres, and clearly not finding any because we get so much understeer through the final 2 corners there that we get dropped by Latifi initially there. The tyre temperatures are up to green now as we go into turn 1, but having to lift off and go down a gear in 7th and not take an 8th and flat out because the dirty airs also kicking in. And at the moment, just not finding some grip, trying to find the groove on Latifi, but at the moment, struggling to kind of go around the outside of him here. Just showing that our car very much is not, our car is not good enough to not fight the Williams car. Like, we still have to put up a fight against this team, especially when it comes to Russell. But Latifi as well, to be fair to him, is putting up a decent effort here defending me. Ahead of us, Mazepin, he's got an issue, I think. My engineer told me that he's got an issue, so he's holding up Russell. But here we go, waltzing round the outside at Luffield. That is a beautiful little move on Nicholas Latifi there, and the crowd hopefully got some entertainment watching that from that grandstand as we now come through Cops. Now Russell going for the move on Mazepin. He's slow. The Haas has an issue. It is so close for George Russell, but what a move by our fellow Brit, and it's so much commitment there. Latifi gets his nose in. We're going to switch from left to right the circuit, get around the outside, squeeze Mazepin for good measure because he's just being an absolute lemon and slow mobile chicane in the middle there. He's got a car issue and he just needs to get out of the way so we can go chasing after George Russell then in the other Williams car. Schumacher's got it away. Look at that gap, that Haas car. It's definitely made some upgrades. We've seen the R&D chart. It is a little bit ahead of us, I think, the Haas. And for sure in the hands of Schumacher. I mean, just look at him. He's so far ahead of us. So I think the Haas has definitely had some upgrades here. And right now we're just focusing on trying to close up to Russell and seeing if we can try and overtake him. But like I said, the Williams car is pretty decent. We have to actually put up a fight against the Williams team. And so here we go then. Trying to go for the move at Cops on the inside. Do we dare to do it? Lift off. Little graze of the tyres. And we bang wheels. But we're going to both keep it in a straight line and keep going in this race, and we're up into P17, so it's a lovely little move there, and it's a really hard fought one. I'm not going to lie, those two moves on two Williams cars were way more hard fought than I really wanted it to, but that is simply where we're at now. But lap 8 then, P17, we now just go on, and we've got to hope and pray the rain comes, but after the first round of pit stops. It is getting a little bit more overcast already now. Lap 10, 2 laps later, but we finally got the first man to come into the pit lane. It's Mick Schumacher in the Haas, so that's good news for us, but it just shows how early I went to the pits. Like lap 10 is when the first few people are coming in, or the first person is coming in off the soft. So like I said, I wouldn't, that gamble this gamble we've taken would not work if we didn't know there was maybe some rain on the way, because I've gone like, you know, a good 6-7 laps earlier and on medium tires, let alone hard. But here we are through the final bend onto a new lap number 12, and finally we've got a whole load of cars, including Hamilton. We've jumped Lewis Hamilton, so that's how good the free pit stop under the safety cars worked, to the point where on lap number 13 we're going to go through into first bloody place. We are leading the British Grand Prix in our crummy little My Team car in Season 1. So pitting under the safety car has really worked out for us in terms of, well, I never thought we'd be leading our home race here in the very first season. But here we are then. Let's see how many laps we could maybe lead. Hamilton is 5.5 behind, so I suspect he might catch that within 2 laps maybe, but the rain is on the way. You can see how doom and gloom it looks. There's a sheen on the circuit. I think the rain is going to start to fall, and it is going to start to fall on lap 15 then. And like I said, 2 laps then it's taken, and Hamilton and Bottas are right behind me. 2 tenths to 5 tenths there. Hamilton powering through, even deploying a bit ERS. Hamilton with DRS, too quick for us. Bottas the same. There's no point putting up too much of a fight really. We're not in a battle with Mercedes, so we're going to let off and just kind of let them go through. Don't lose too much time in our racing line and pace, and use Bottas for a bit of DRS basically on this next lap as Ricciardo is going to catch up to us. But it's a very different scenario from the start of the season, where we were maybe looking to hold up McLaren cars. I think you can tell by the last race where Ricciardo won the Austrian Grand Prix that the McLaren team have clearly made a lot of R&D upgrades, and they are, well, kind of trying to battle Mercedes at this point in the season. So also at the same time, like with Merck, not wanting to put up too much of a fight against Ricciardo and Lando Norris behind him. We go to the inside, let Ricciardo go the long way round and do all the work there, and he just waltzes by. Like, it just didn't look like much for him. So, you know, it is what it is. But remember, this is not the fight we're in. The fight we're in is with everyone that was ahead of us. Schumacher, all those midfield cars, and the lower points. Right now, we're still P4, and it's lap 16. We've got 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and we're still P4. It's going to change very soon, because Norris is going to come through, Verstappen, Leclerc, and then there's a bit of a breathing room gap to Perez. We go wide, sort of on purpose there for Verstappen and Leclerc. Leclerc makes it awkward, though, because he doesn't go fully around the outside of us, so we're actually going to battle the Ferrari on the exit exit and maybe give the crowd something to cheer about on the exit of Luffield down towards Cops. Leclerc on the outside, but there you go. There's the kind of overspeed of the Ferrari finally kicking in. We get a bit awkwardly close to him, but we'll let off and make sure we don't hit him. And so we're going to settle down for P7. The gap is 4.2 to Perez on hards, which is very weird to see him on hards. But a few laps later, he's going to be right behind us, but we lose the back end and have to twitch and counter steer to catch the car. And you can see it's looking pretty damn damp down there. We've only got 6 laps now after this one. And I was thinking at this stage, surely it's time to come in. But at Austria, it looked pretty wet and it wasn't time to come in yet. We came in quite late at Austria, I feel, compared to how it looked on circuit. So we're going to plow on and continue and basically only come in when our engineers are maybe suggesting us to. But by lap 21, remember, I put onto these mediums lap 4. So my tyre wear is so high for mediums, 52% on the front left. And now you may be able to hear that underneath my voice. My engineer's telling me it's effectively my choice now when I want to put inters, and I'm very torn. It's lap 21. It looks this wet, but there's only 5 laps left. And the tyre wear, yes, it's high, but the grip is still there. You know, yes, we're kind of losing the rear end, but I'm still going pretty quick through these corners. DRS is now disabled on lap 23, though. 2 laps later, 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix. It looks very wet out there. DRS disabled usually is the time for you to come in. That's the game's way of saying, you know, the FI think it's too wet for the DRS to be operational. Perez is in, but we continue on because no one ahead of Perez is coming and no one behind us is coming in. Perez is the only man making this decision, and we come through on lap 24, 3 laps to go in this one, and I think us and the rest of the grid, we're all going to try and go to the end on dry tyres. And look at the speed we're going through. We're not exactly losing the back end at high speed here on these dries, so it's a very confusing point of this race, and this is one kind of confusing part of the game, I feel. Although they've improved the graphics and the visual effects of the rain on this year's game, it is very confusing because it looks so wet out there, yet the grip levels are not that horrendous. And now at this stage, we're all just firming it on lap 24. Now the grip levels are decreasing as we drift through the final corner, but all of us are being too stubborn. No one's coming in, and to be fair, Perez, look at the minimap, he's still quite far behind. He's not exactly coming at us at a lightning rate of knots as we now move on into the second last lap of the Grand Prix. Lap 25, defending against Stroll and Gasly to try and maintain this P7 and match the position we had at the Red Bull Ring last episode. We're now tiptoeing around Village, but Perez is still not with us. Only now has he caught up to the train. It's the last lap of the Grand Prix, and here we are then on to this last lap. Still P7. It's still very wet out there. It's very much Inter's time now, but all of us have taken this too far. Like everyone, barring Perez, I think, is on the dry tyres. We've now all got to just accept our decision and go to the end, but only now is Perez catching us, so I feel like if we went on to Inters, we wouldn't have actually caught these guys because we were, remember, a good few seconds behind Perez, and you've got to remember in Inters conditions, I wouldn't be as quick as Perez is because he's in a Red Bull car Inters. So I don't know whether we would have caught them. That's, you know, maybe a debate that we can have, but, you know, for me right now, sticking with the AI, trying to just trundle through to the end in P7 with the track position I felt was the better idea, but you can see Gasly trying to go around our outside. Perez goes and makes the move on Stroll. We take a wide line and just run Gasly out of room. Perez slips through on the outside. That's not a problem. He's on Inters in a Red Bull. He's always going to overtake us. So we go down to P8. That's what we're fighting for. So not quite the P7 we got at Austria, but still P8 nonetheless. Still a good haul of points compared to what we've seen in previous races. And look at that. Sebastian Vettel almost got it crossed up and spat into the wall behind me as he now goes side by side with Pierre Gasly. It's very, very close. But the thing I want to point out is it looks this wet, I've got this less grip, but the AI, they just don't. And so for the second time, I've got a bone to pick with Cody's. 1, livery's not good enough. 2, for me, the AI, clearly, as you can see in these last few laps, they have way too much grip in these conditions. We're all on dry tyres on an Inter circuit. I'm struggling because I'm the player. Where's the same struggle for the AI? Like Gasly, he's been getting mega exits all corners. Like, I don't know where their lack of grip is. So once again, even more so than previous years, the AI are way too overpowered in these slippery conditions, and they're just too perfect, basically. We're going to come through for P8 in this race. and get some more points. But it's a very frustrating end to the race because I just didn't feel like any of these AI was struggling in the same way I was. Like, they were just all over the back of me, and I was having to do the world's best defensive work to maintain P8. But we get P8, we get points at the home race.
Then a fantastic British Grand Prix, and what a performance it was from our race winners today. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
So it was a pretty big struggle then at the end of that race, but 4 points nonetheless at our very first Silverstone British Grand Prix. So, you know, getting to Q2, maybe the curse is broken. Maybe it doesn't continue on to F1 2021, and this may actually be a happy hunting ground for us in future seasons. 13 points than the tally is in total, so still a little bit off Alpine, but we're chipping away at them, you know, slowly but surely, and definitely with the car upgrades we've got come pending for the Hungarian Grand Prix and beyond, I think we can actually start to chase after Alpine properly in the Constructors' Championship. But guys, if you did enjoy that one around the home GP, then be sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.